So I'm just filming, showing the dogs stimulation in the city. These are earth dogs. These guys work as therapy dogs for soldiers. Well, for people with PTSD, but they've been bred specifically for soldiers because they've got an edge about them for going under the ground and fighting animals that fight back under the ground, like badgers and foxes. Particularly good for people that grew up in this civilized Australian society and then became professional soldiers and went and fought in conflict zones as a soldier, or anything to do within war. And they come back here and try and fit into this society. See, it's safe, it's peaceful now, it's close to midnight. But I can be out here. But these dogs are ready to go, as I'm ready to go. Ready for action all the time. Ready to be on high alert. Always live on some kind of high alert. So this just allows us to be relaxed. This is recreation, this is relaxing. The dogs know that they're being given the stimulation because they need it. They fit into the human world so well, and they're so good for humans. But it's Christmas, it's Boxing Day at the moment. So they've had to miss out. They've had to be locked inside. They can't even be outside. They've had to be locked inside, so I know that they won't have any chance of getting out, and then have to go and do family stuff, do social festivity stuff without the dogs. But they're therapy dogs. They work with people all the time. So most important that they get some decent stimulation tonight. They don't just get to go for a run. They need some decent stimulation. So for all intents and purposes, they are in the mode and the act of hunting. The scent has been washed away. So if there's any scent that has been left on all of this flood damaged landscape, if it's come down a tree, for instance, there'll be one scent trail at the bottom of a tree that goes up a tree. It came from up the tree, down the tree, and then maybe went to another tree, for instance. And that is stimulation. There's no chance of catching that possum. They're not allowed to engage with native wildlife. So the big thing we have here is what was the exercise further up before I was filming, was to be able to call the dogs off, call them back. So the water's moving very fast further up. It's not moving very fast here by the looks of it, but it's moving fast underneath. I just had 4 dogs fall in, and I had to fish 2 of them out because they didn't want to swim down to this little section here. But further down, there's no way of getting them back out, so I was very, very strict with them to not go close to the water. And then we come to just up there further, it opens up and becomes quite calm, and they can go in the water. But then they started coming to where it comes to a bottleneck where it's only this wide, from being like 40 meters wide, and you can see the water accelerating as it comes closer, and they didn't seem to see that. They were coming very close to it. So that's a massive safety consideration that you have when you have dogs out in these kind of scenarios, because they seem so smart and they seem so aware that they couldn't possibly make these errors, but then they don't really understand the infrastructure of human beings, how it changes the natural world kind of thing. And there can be massive risk with that. The other thing, there we do have an issue. See, he's just jumped into the water. You won't really capture that on the video. So Elvis has jumped into the water to chase after a water hen. that's not really what we want to do in this fast moving water. It's okay up here because it pans out down there, but then it does become fast again. I actually didn't think that they would be so at risk. There's a black dog there in frame, but you just can't see it. See? Elvis, I didn't need to be splashed, but thank you. So that's hunting. See how he's chasing after those ducks and the water hens, so he's hunting. No chance of catching it. So it's stimulation. Dachshunds and terriers are always going to be pretty close to your feet. So even in scenarios like this, we sort of look at about 30 meters is their average sort of maximum range. They move away, but then they can easily put another 100 meters between you. So it's vitally important that you can call the dogs back and you can hold them close to you if another dog comes past, for instance. Particularly on lead, like if another dog comes down here, someone else is exercising their dogs late at night in this place, off lead. We've never been here before. And if that someone knows the area, for instance, the dog has a different attitude. But these dogs, they shoot first, ask questions later. So you really need to be onto it. There's a pack. I have 6 with me at the moment. There's 21 of these dogs out there in the world doing their bit to make the world a much better place. They make people become humans. So you're aware of everything. So what I was saying there is I did use the staging, or not staging, I used that area as a staging area to train the dogs, as I could see down the path when there's somebody approaching, and then I can contain the dogs and treat it as though it's a very serious situation, like there's other dogs up there, that you just can't have this, like you just can't have that happen. Dogs cannot be off lead and then go and surround and approach and attack a dog on lead. It just cannot happen. So just because there was a person walking up there 5 minutes ago just by themselves doesn't mean that you can just be relaxed, because that's a scenario that it just simply could have a dog. So it needs to be treated with that same urgency and the same severity of the discipline. If they don't sit, if they don't stay, if a command has to be given a second time, then they're in trouble, basically. So I have this fella here, continued to bark, and if he does that, then he's in trouble. Moo, hip, 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 moo, hip, I want you to stay here, moo. So here's an example, moo, come back here, now, here, quickly. So it doesn't matter what's going on up there, I need my dogs back here. And the other thing is that I can only do this because the dogs bark. Right, so she's here, the light's just not showing her, so that's good. So she's here, I've got all the dogs close to me. So the light is fading, the battery's fading on this. So I stay here, back here. Elvis, back, stay here, beef it. Right, so this is Moo. So she come back here now. You've got Bufo up there, so I'm focusing a lot. Normally I have a bit more control and containing. I'm focusing on the light and the camera. Bufo, back here now. You see, there's Elvis is just out of frame. The light's just not showing. Bufo, come back here. So this is not, there's not something allowed to happen normally. It's only, Bufo, come here now. Return here. You took too long. Right, so I'm going to wrap up the filming and get on to that, because that needs to be followed up, okay? That's too much. It does not matter what is going on down there. As far as the millions of years of instincts are concerned. Moo, stay here. Moo. I thought she was going to take another step then. She didn't need that moo-moo. Stay here. See that poise, right? We'll move back. So I just want to show on the outside here. So there's a duck just there. The light's terrible. The pups chewed my good copper head torch, so we see Elvis is very focused on the duck that's just over there. There's two of them, in fact. He's not going to swim out there again because he knows there's a strong current. Okay, so this is particularly good. There's a lot of safety considerations. There could be another storm. This whole region could very quickly rise up again. This is strange. I'm sure I left an insulated thermos drinking container right there. There's no way that it could have walked away by itself. How could that be possible? I must be in the wrong place. I must have come out in the wrong place. Okay, so what we have here is this flood zone is a sports ground here, and then the riparian zone next to it. So we have decent grass, native trees, bushland. It's also a great area. You can get good seeds here and then disperse them around, because this is native. This is ecosystem when you have all these different types of trees here. It provides for multiple animals. So now they can have a bit of a free run. And I'll use this now to train them. So I'll let them run, and then I'll call them back to discipline. I'll make them sit for no reason, and then I'll make them stay while I walk away from them. And then I'll take 1 or 2 dogs and I'll interact with them while I'll leave the others under discipline, sitting, waiting, being quiet. And so we have the control. I don't need to teach these dogs how to hunt. I need to teach these dogs and make sure that I've got a discipline over them all the time, that I can call them off anything at all. Whether it's prey, quarry, another dog, another person, somebody that they know on the other side of the road who just pulled up. All kinds of things. Bats that fly out of the trees, anything that moves fast really stimulates this one's senses, and he's after it. Particularly loves birds, particularly love bats because they're not birds. They smell different. They make different sound when they fly. They have this aggressive trait. They make noise in the tree. These guys have a prey drive for things they catch and kill and eat, and they have a quarry drive, which is something like you've never seen before, for animals that fight back. So there's something when there's feral cats, for instance, that fights back, then they go mad. And there's no difference to them really between domestic cats. Well, there kind of is. They'd have that intelligence. But for domestic cats, smell a lot like feral cats, I imagine. So that's one thing, but then cats don't really dig into the ground. So if you get something that fights back and digs into the ground and moves the soil around, then these dogs turn into something else. So around here, it's foxes and the occasional rabbits. There used to be a lot of rabbits in this kind of areas because of this vegetation was always here in the riparian zone next to a creek. Therefore, the rabbits are able to be everywhere that there's water. And often you'll find that there's industrial land or sports field kind of environments like this, so they can live undisturbed, as can foxes. And the foxes will use the tidal areas, so they can easily live. There could easily be a fox den right there and you wouldn't even know. No one would ever know. And then they use the tidal areas of the creeks to get around. So we track foxes, these dogs, we track the foxes, and they disappear, the tracks disappear into the mud of Norman Creek because it's tidal from the Brisbane River. So we've got an engagement tomorrow with someone who's got some mental illness issues, mental health issues. There's no such thing as mental illness because it's a spiritual disharmony. So the dogs are having a run there. They're allowed to have a free play run, and the light is fading on this battery, so you're not really capturing that. But what I'm saying with that is, because I've done this at night time, then we get up and can start the day, and we're far enough away from houses I can let them have a bark. So anyway, otherwise you can't let them make noise in the city. Plus we don't, and if we're out in the bush, we don't want to cause disturbance. That's a disturbance as well. So we don't normally do that. See what they have it. This is just them playing and socially bonding. So we've got a particularly sensitive engagement tomorrow. So I'll have time with them in the morning to get them ready and train them. That's where I'll have to be very full on military and make them sit. So I'll just, all right, now stop now, sit, now stop, sit, Buffo, sit. Good girl, see your Moo sitting. Right, handsome, sit now, handsome, sit. Good boy, Buffo, good boy, Boxer, good boy, State. Handsome, sit, handsome, handsome, sit down, handsome. Okay, we must. Handsome, sit, buddy, sit. Come on, buddy, sit down. Come on, buddy. Sit down, mate. You're on camera. Sit down. This is a problem. Too much stubbornness of the dash down. You watch the handsome. Come here. Sit. Everyone, stay. Good dog. Stay. Handsome. Sit down, please. Sit for me, buddy. Handsome. Come on, mate. Sit. Good boy. Thank you, buddy. Thank you. Okay, sorry. So, sorry, got the light here, it's not so great. That's the thing for me. When things aren't so ideal, frustration and all of that from the human world is so easily not recognised until the dogs don't do something. Razzle's sitting up there out of frame too, so she's always, that's what they all do. Mooma, I didn't tell you to break ranks here. I didn't tell you. Anyway, I need to wrap this up, and I'm just going to follow up with this. So this is the kind of control that took too long because I didn't follow up 5 minutes ago. Is what I would say is why that took too long. When I called them back and they didn't come back straight away, I had to call them second time. And then when this fella went and he didn't come back straight away, Elvis, stay here. Good boy. Stay here. I said stay. See how he does it. But this is the hunting instinct. He needs to check what that was that's causing the movement over there. But I already know what it was. It was a bat. I'd say he probably knows what that was and he wants to just go and chase it for the joy. So we will sit like this for 20 minutes sometimes. And in this case, there was nothing. They hadn't done anything bad. But this should have happened 5 minutes ago. And so I'll do this in the morning a few times. And then that's basically all I need to do before we can go and do this other engagement. If I don't do that, then there's a risk of them just being too much. They're too much energy, too much noise, too much licking, too much jumping up, all of that, and me having to repeat myself too many times. doesn't work for mental health issues generally, or anxiety, depression, etc., which is everywhere. So that's what I'll do anyway, but it's very important that they got this stimulation at night to finish off the day before we go to sleep, and then deal with tomorrow. Because it can be so easy to not wake up early and then have the time to give the dogs the stimulation that I want to give them, and then to sleep later and then just have this rush or just this pressure, and that's what happens. The dogs miss out on the stimulation that I want to give them and the kind of life that I want to give them. I rehabilitated a dog 6 years ago because he was having issues being left alone in a suburban backyard. Dash on Jack Russell. And I realised certain things about that dog through this process, which was a massive reason why I'm doing this, why I'm standing out in a field now in the middle of the night after a storm, giving these dogs stimulation as the most important thing in my life to do. And then the other big part of that is keeping a friendship with that dog and with that dog's human, then realising after a few months, after about 4 months or so, the effect that that dog had had on me in healing me in ways that I thought that I was just damaged. I thought that this society and this world had taken its toll on me, and that's all there was to it. That I was frayed around the edges. And then there was all these other ways that I didn't realise that I was so frayed around the edges. So these dogs are all the legacy of that one dog. And they do so much healing work out there in the world for human beings. And they don't get paid any money. I rarely get paid any money. And I've given the money to them before, but they didn't seem to care about it. So I picked it back up again and then went and spent it on them. This is how I can pay them. Right, that's enough. So I'm going to follow up with this now and I'll wrap this up. Merry Christmas, everyone.